video on using up this Hawthorn Fruit Leather that I made. I made it a few months back. It's a bit of a faff to make, actually. I wouldn't recommend you make it unless you're a glutton for punishment. It was a particularly dry year, so it was just difficult to kind of squeeze and extract and faff around with. It's better in a wetter year. It just happened to be a particularly dry summer this year, so the fruit was a bit difficult to work with. But anyway, I did it, I made it, I've got it. I'm going to do something with it. Actually, I recommend that you collect hawthorn berries and make hawthorn gin, which is delicious, rather than the fruit leather. But fruit leather, we have it. It's dried out a little bit too much, so I've just soaked in a little bit of water and I've chopped it up, and I'm going to use it in a rich fruit cake, like a Christmas cake, wedding cake type of cake, and see if it kind of works as a substitute for other dried fruits. I did it in a normal cake a couple of years back, and it was very nice. Do like a 4-4-4-2 recipe cake, just like a sponge, and it was very nice. But I just kind of thought, it's quite, to taste it, it's got a little bit of a citrus edge to it, so I think it will work particularly well in a fruit cake. So it's a standard fruit cake recipe, which is for these size loaf tins, it's 3 eggs, so it's 6 ounces of butter, 6 ounces of sugar, 6 ounces of flour, and then it's got some cinnamon, some nutmeg in it, and some orange zest and some lemon zest. And then so I'm going to use that, and then we've got these other bits of dry fruit. So we've got some sultanas, we've got some homemade candied cherries, and we've got some homemade candied peel. So I'm just curious to see how it turns out, if it works. So there'll be a little bit of moisture going in there, but that'll be fine. That'll be fine. And then these in here, and then we'll see if we need to add a bit more fruit. I think. What did I find last time? Yeah, last time I made a fruit cake, if I'm using my homemade candied peel, it tends to weigh more and not kind of have. It tends to, for its surface, it tends to be kind of quite dense in its weight. So I found that there wasn't really enough fruit in the cake. So last time I made some cake, I found that I had to put a bit more in. Yeah, so that looks like it wants more fruit in than that. That looks, it's a little bit too easy to move around. So we put some more sultanas in. I'm going to make some other cakes today, so I just want to try this fruit leather in this cake, and then if it works with this fruit leather, it will work with any other type of fruit leather that we kind of want to kind of make as well. That's my thought. So yeah, it certainly needs a lot more fruit in, but that's fine. I suppose it's difficult to go on weights, as opposed to some things are kind of quite heavy, but they don't take up a lot of space, and it's kind of the volume of fruit that you want rather than the weight, if that makes sense. Does it want a bit more? No, I think that'll be fine. Right, so that, and it wants to be in an oven, 150 for about 3 hours, something like that. Oh, it's going to be loads of fruit in this cake. So I was kind of thinking a rich fruit cake wants to be more fruit than actual cake. I don't bother putting any alcohol in. Not that I don't like alcohol, just I don't know why. But I don't bother. I don't think it probably improves the what we call it, the keeping when you pull it out of the oven and you put some fruit and when you put some alcohol in it. But it's just not the type of thing I do. So that looks about right. So in the oven, 150 degrees, about 3 hours. I'll put something over the top of it, like a bit of baking parchment, and then just to kind of stop the top from browning too much. But we'll see what it looks like. We should taste it in the cake, shouldn't we? So fingers and cake mixture. I think that's going to work, but we'll see what it's like when it's done. Right, so it's cooked. It's out of the oven. That's the one. because I put a little tear in. But those two were on a different shelf, that's why they're a different colour. And I also put a piece of paper on top and then a wire rack just to kind of protect the tops for a little bit. But they look a bit better now. You live and learn, don't you? I think I just wrapped some paper over that and then had the weight of the cake tin on top of the paper. So I think we'll do that in future. Even though that looks, I don't know. Well, I'll taste them. You'll kind of see. We'll do it. We'll cool them and then we'll cut into both types of cake, and we'll kind of have a look and see how they are once they're cooled, obviously. And then the best stop maturing for a couple of months, but they don't always. By the time I've onto the third cake that I've eaten, that's generally had about 2 months maturing. But I tend to eat the cakes before they're ready to mature because I like cake. But anyway, I'm waffling. Right, let's have a look. So this is one that I'm really interested in. I mean, the fruit leather was a little bit tough, well, hard. It was a little bit dried out, which it'll get better with time. All that, it'll soften in the cake. It's nice and moist. A little bit difficult to cut through, but in 2 months' time that'll be a lot easier to cut through. It's just that they were quite hard. Maybe should have soaked them for a little bit longer, but a little bit too dried out. Not the cake, but the Hawthorn leather. Just a little bit too dried out. So, but it'll soften. It'll soften within time. As the cake matures, what will happen is everything will want to get to the right type of hydration, the same type of hydration. So anything that's harder in there will soften, and anything that's softened will slightly harden. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, the Hawthorn leather will draw out moisture from the other things in there and become softened over time. That's alright. That's alright. It's a lot of work to make the Hawthorn leather, but it looks okay. Right, so that's okay. It was just, yeah, so I think just wrapping paper around it over the top, I think that works better than putting something on top of it. Still a bit dark on the inside and the fruit's dropped, but it's only for me and I was in a bit of a rush, so that's alright. Yeah, so mixed results, but I think that'll get better with time. A success? On the fence.